Stereokit's first line of code was actually written in Japan. I had been traveling the world helping developers port applications from HoloLens 1 to HoloLens 2, and so I basically got a crash course in like what is difficult for developers. And so this was something that I thought about a lot because my day-to-day was just kind of like traveling around and helping people solve those problems. And so this was also around the same time that OpenXR first came out, so like the very early versions, and I had written a tutorial about that, and I was very excited about it. So Stereokit was really born from this opportunity for cross-platform development with OpenXR, and then all of these hard, tough problems that people were encountering. So it was really designed to solve everything that I was just working with on a daily basis. So hopefully it solves these problems for you as well.
Thank you so much for being here today. I am very excited to be speaking now about the topic of ethics in XR design. It happens that I haven't seen so many people speaking about this topic between designers, engineers, product designers, creators, etc. And I believe that it is a topic that has to be deeply considered, that it should be supportive around these conversations when we are performing work. And we're gonna see the reasons why I feel passionate about this topic and how we can make a good case for us in order to start supporting the mission of bringing more of these reflections and ethics into our work as designers. So my name is Diana Olenik. I am the founder of M4 Method. I am a professional engineer, a studio director. I live in Canada, and here I perform several roles in terms of the business side. I am a current mentor for Futurepreneur Canada, a business mentor, and also I'm a business mentor for North Forge, which is incubator for startups. So I like to support the community. I also am supporting right now Women in Engineering, which is an initiative where I help them with career advice and additional support, because it is part of my mission to share my knowledge and experience, and so we can all grow together. My specialization is in virtual environments, XR design, business and education consulting. Today we're going to speak about something very interesting. As I mentioned, we see all around different experiences, but we don't see many of the professionals generating these conversations about these crucial aspects for now the evolution of immersive experiences. So I'm bringing them here so we can all together maybe brainstorm, generate these reflections, and maybe you can incorporate them as well. So we're going to speak about what is ethics anyways, because we hear this word and sometimes we're not even very clear what it exactly means. What are the precedents that we have in terms of ethics in the world, breaches, etc. And 3 special case studies, and also looking forward, what are the things that we can do. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it discusses some interesting issues. So starting with what is ethic anyways, according to Google, it's part of the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. And so these are definitions from Oxford Languages. So this means that ethics ultimately is everything that is related with human behavior. And based on this conduct or on this behavior, what type of consequences can happen. So here we're pretty much speaking about standards, the group of standards that we can create around anything related with ethics, the protection of rights, because part of the ethics, the purpose is to behave in a way that is safe and in an environment where we can all live as a community and we can all take care of each other. So the rights that are around that. The obligations that we have as members of communities, as human beings, in order to protect life. And the society, like the view with the society, the impact of our actions, not only in our own close surroundings, but around the world, and even with nature, with the earth, with the environment. So as you can see, ethics is actually something that doesn't seem so obvious there sometimes, but it really actually involves every single behavior that we have and how we interact with the world in a way that is safe, that is considerate of others, and what type of things we do to protect our world and ourselves. So ethics is part of the 4 branches of philosophy. And this is interesting. I'm not sure how much you have studied about philosophy. I feel that it has been some of my topics of interest. There are different branches in philosophy, and I'm going to start with the one that is my favorite one. It's called metaphysics, and metaphysics is not about stuff that is, like fantasy or stuff that is not necessarily scientifically proven. It is actually about the study of the reality and being. What does it mean to be alive? Does it mean to be human? And that's why I love that topic, because I believe that everything begins with us, with each one of us, and our awareness of our existence and our place in the world. Also, in the philosophy, we have the study of epistemology, which is the theory of knowledge. Pretty much epistemology is the basis of sciences. So philosophy, it's actually philosophy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it means love for wisdom. And that is also another aspect that I really like from this field of study, which is where we as humans generate these reflections and we hopefully become kinder as part of these reflections, as a demonstration of this love for wisdom and growth. And another branch is logic, which is related with argumentation and reason. I say developers actually have more of this, more evident this use of logic, because this is where these patterns of how things go, in what order, and how we do these things related, for example, coding, is a demonstration of reasoning and logic. And finally, the one that we're discussing today, which is about ethics, And as we mentioned, it's about the behaviors of humans and the moral principles. So what are these set of standards or guidelines that we can follow in order to protect each other and to protect the world? Inside ethics, there is a very important approach that we need to be aware of, because the idea of this is that we study in general what is ethics, so we can hopefully come to a conclusion of why this could be important for us. That's why we're studying this. But between these four ethical theories, we have a little bit of differences in the approaches. Ultimately, the final outcome is the same, which is promoting the safe behavior and the moral principles that can allow us to live safe between each other. These four theories, the first one is called the Mills or utilitarianism theory of ethics. And this is a theory about action benefit, in the sense that every single action that we take should be done in a way that the consequences should be a benefit for most of the people. So pretty much, as you can see, it comes down to the reflection in ourselves, or how this action is impacting other people and how it is actually benefiting other people. So that's why it is called utilitarianism, because ultimately is about what is the impact in other people, the use of this. We also have another ethical theory, which is Kant's formalism. And I'd say that is a very interesting topic that I want to mention here, because it is absolutely what is happening right now. This is also called the duty-based theory, ethics theory. And it's related with the fact that every human being has a responsibility to behave in a way that is according with their principles. So it's a personal duty approach. And what is important here is to recognize how in this theory it is discussed that human life is like sacred, is rich, and the importance of how human life has to be protected, and the fact that we cannot use the life of humans or humans in order to achieve other goals or results. So the use of human life is sacred. We cannot use it in order to get a benefit for something else. And this is what is happening right now. That we're gonna see these examples of how our life, or data, or integrity is being used for other purposes. So that's why I find some alignment with this ethics theory. The other one is the Locke's right ethics theory, and this one is all related with equal rights. So everybody has the right of possessions, of food, of clothing. Everybody has equal rights and equal rights of expression, etc. And in this dimension of equal rights, then is when it comes to place the fact that we actually have all the grade of consciousness that allow us to behave in a way that is proper. So this is about this theory. And the last one in this list that we have today is the Aristotle's virtue-based theory. And this is all about the fact that every one of us has in this expression of humanity a set of guidelines or principles that we follow that allow us to see maybe kindness in other people or kindness in ourselves, and due to this idea of virtues is that this theory is being developed explaining how the qualities of human beings and the acts are good within, have to be good within reason. For example, I don't foresee causing certain damage to someone that sees me or acting aggressively or violent, not because there are rules outside that exist that say that I shouldn't do it, but because of my own virtue and principles don't allow me to do that. So that is about this one. And this theory actually goes a little bit more into something that is also very interesting for me, which is about maintaining the middle. Not too much, excess or deficiency, but maintaining a balance in the behaviors and how we interact with the world. Which one is correct? You might be thinking, or why bringing 4 ethical theories? These are the 4 ethical theories. And what we're gonna see about is that in order to regulate or to guarantee a safe workspace for humans, then somehow organizations of power have brought forward this creation of rules, and it brought them from somewhere. So this is the answer. It has been brought based on philosophy, minimum standards of behavior, and of course from ethics. So if you have ever wondered where the law comes from in governments or in places, in countries, it comes from these foundations. That's why it is very important to discuss this. So ethics is a way of human conduct that sets the foundation for the principles of law. And in the principles of law, of course, we also have the discussion about justice. What is justice? Which is the conduct and action when they are fair and when they are balanced and when they are assessed and is looking for the way of what is a standard or minimum for a human being. So as we can see now, this is related with governments, law, and the principles of justice. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a flow of how this is coming now to affect us in this way, and where the principles of behavior come from and how we can integrate them in our lives because of the reflections that we're going to have with the use of technology. So there are certain precedents, of course, yes. We have certain examples out there of situations that have happened. There are actually many more. And in my research, I just decided to bring these ones that are were simple to explain, and there are more. Anyway, so the first one is the racial hygiene experiments that were performed in the 40s with the Nazis movement or philosophy that was created by Hitler, etc., that was influenced by the British eugenic movement. This doesn't seem directly as a technological per se situation, but actually the reason why these experiments were performed is because of an idea that was developed all around the fact that certain people were having something inside their bodies that was going to be infectious or contaminating for other people. And in that sense, science was used in order to back up this, which is used as a form of use of technology and breach of ethics in order to commit this type of genocide that happened. So these are real precedents of how human behavior is sometimes driven in a way that is maybe not considerate of others or aware enough of others. We also have another example of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and it's not just about nuclear power plants, of course. There are also, for example, weapons that use nuclear technology that also have had certain breaches or situations that have impacted the lives of thousands of people. This is the story of an Ukrainian plant in the 1980s that, maybe because of certain situations with the engineering teams and how things were performed internally, caused one of these situations where people got contaminated. And although not thousands of people died in this right away in this situation, as we know, the impact of nuclear chemicals in the body are impacts that we cannot see until many, many years later and on generations to come. So this is another example of how issues with ethical situations might arise and cause a lot of unforeseeable maybe outcomes that affect the life of people. Also, there is another example, and this one is related with technology. The beginning of the internet is said to be thanks to this protocol called ARPANET, which is that's the predecessor in the 1960s. When this was created, there was never any even closer assumption of the consequences that this could bring to the world in terms of things that we're going to see later in the presentation, but related with impacting humans, in the way that humans interact, in the way that humans relate to each other, and in the way that humans make reflections about the existence even with themselves. So this has a great impact. As anything with technology, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad, and not only with technology but with any other creation. But this is another example of situations that arose there with the creation of the protocol that also came to consequences later in breaches of ethical responsibilities. And another one is the example of social media, which pretty much began with the idea of social connections in the 1990s and the rise of digital social interactions. So this was also, of course, progressed more or progress quickly because of the use of this type of devices. So the devices were also a definite tool there for social media to actually be able to produce the results that now we see. Without these devices, this wouldn't have been possible in that way. So it's not just the social media or the technology per se, it's the devices, it's the whole idea around this. I am not assuming or insinuating that this technology is bad. Most of the creations perhaps cannot be seen enough from when they are being developed in terms of the impact of human protection, etc. But it turned out to be, at least as how we see it right now, a very impactful technology that has affected many people around the world. So we have here certain modern issues that now this is a little bit more related with the technology and what type of specific consequences has brought. Some of them, speaking about social media, for example, are related when big companies are in the power to create products, services, digital experiences, etc., and their only purpose is just the growth in terms of in economical terms, in terms of advertisement, in terms of just a financial pure point of view. Not every single company in the world is behind this. There are companies that have a more conscious approach with social responsibility, for example. And social responsibility also involves the environment and others around us. So these type of companies have different approaches when they are growing their products. They are growing their products, and but at the same time, they are trying to implement ways where what they are creating is not necessarily done with the intention of being addictive or using deceptive design or extracting additional methods or implementing additional methods in order to extract data, etc. These type of approaches come from when a business only has that in mind without the consideration of the impact. This results in misleading products, issues with mental health, is very, very dangerous. The other one is the social or political influence that we see. With this one, we see situations related with technology where the information is misleading, there is manipulation, there is the use of the humanity, the integrity, in order to achieve their particular goals. And also another one is the data misuse. And in this one, we have identity and psychological profiles that are being constructed, created, processed, gathered this data in order to fulfill other purposes. Whether it is advertisement or using this data to create other type of algorithms or creating other type of opportunities, businesses, etc. And the other one that we're presenting is about data privacy, which is where personal data is used as a commodity. And with this one, I would like to say that this is the case that we are going through right now and we've seen in the last years. Data privacy is a very, very, very big issue, and if we are not seeing any very particular improvements, very evident standards being developed quickly, we can kind of safely predict that if we are transferring the same type of systems to go around this safety of data into the other type of technologies like immersive technologies, we can quickly realize that it's going to be continue to be, and it's going to be even a major issue. We're here speaking about a couple of case studies. The first one is the like button. I like to talk about this one because it is something that is going to be very close to us when we move to speak about immersive technologies and the impact of this. And this is a precedent, very important one to discuss, so we can kind of foresee what could be happening also in immersive technologies. So, of course, the like button, we have the implications of this. It has an impact on social health. We also discuss about the data commodity and how this example that we're bringing here has impacted the life of people and their mental health and their conditions as humans. We're also discussing about artificial intelligence algorithm bias, where we discuss how inclusivity and diversity has been coded into these methods and what is being done about it and how this has been possible. And finally, the other example that we're bringing here, and as I mentioned, these are not the only examples, but just for the purpose of this presentation, brought these ones to discuss, is the case of Cambridge Analytica, which is a company from Europe that facilitated the data and processing of this data in favor of some political campaigns and the whole scandal that occurred around this because of the breach on privacy and ethical issues. So this is all about data misuse and how it touches on our human rights, which is finally the reflections that we are making today. So the first one, we're going to discuss the like button. We're making this interesting question: is it good? Is it bad? What do you think? If you want to make that reflection, that would be nice. If you want to participate and comment what type of reflection you can have around this. What has been your own interaction with the like button and how do you see it? Well, the facts is that in 2009, a developer, his name is Justin Rosenstein, he had been working for Google and he had a bright career. He actually completed a degree in mathematics and etc. He dropped now from computer science and got a super good product manager job at Google and obtained a lot of experience, helped to create the basis for the Google Drive and other interesting projects. Then he was able to move to Facebook in order to continue helping them with their systems. And in 2009, he was part of the team where the like button came to life. So he himself had discussed how initially the intention of the like button was not necessarily like to create this type of differences and impact on mental health on people, but to just connect people. However, this is like in every other case where if I am an engineer and I don't consider all the constraints, all the risks, or the situations that can happen around, something can happen with the breach, and I cannot just say that it was not considered. That is why we have as designers a huge responsibility in the process, in seeing the overall picture and what are the potential issues that might arise with certain decisions that we make in terms of design. And of course, this has this just very, very small example have had a very important impact in the way that we interact, in the way that you communicate, and in the hands of a more susceptible population. This technology, of course, it can have detrimental results. For example, if a person is depressed, if a person suffers of anxiety or any other type of disorder or mental situation, this can be very, very dangerous. So there are many conversations around outside about this creation. This is just one example. It comes with other topics around, which is how the design of these triggers can use psychological responses in order to make a product more enticing, more addictive. And this is where the breach with ethics comes to place, or the concern arises, where when psychological profiles are studied around this in order to make sure that we as users are all the time in these devices, giving our lives or hours there because of these new triggers that are created in these apps. So we have this question here that says, what is the new commodity? What do you think? What would be the new commodity? Before, of course, we have seen big companies having the commodities of oil of minerals, of metals, etc. But this is a good one, a big one, to reflect on what is the new commodity. Before, we used to think, okay, out there are the products that we see in the store products, but now this creates another reflection on we are becoming the new products in these new technologies, and this is a very concerning discussion. And I believe every engineer, every designer, every creator should be having these conversations in order to become more aware of what type of world we are creating and what type of standards of work we are working under. The other one is the artificial intelligence bias, and we have here basically the use of algorithms or methods and machine learning to create certain or to improve certain processes to make them more efficient or effective. But the facts are that one of the cases that we can bring here to study is the Bola woman's case, which is she is a woman that was performing one of her studies in MIT, and by using artificial intelligence, she discovered that somehow, because she is a woman of color, there was not a face recognition done properly by this algorithm, and also she was not recognized also because she was a woman. So we see here how the creation of these algorithms and tools that are supposed to be good for us, for humans, that are supposed to make things efficient and better, are maybe not necessarily true. And coding these type of tools in order to improve the life of human beings in a way that the person that is doing the work, the developer or whatever is behind this, when the standards are not clear, when there are no ethics aligned, when there are not principles that are taught and that are considered when these type of works are being developed, then these are the type of consequences where things happen that might determine the outcomes or even opportunities for people in the world based on artificial intelligence alone making these decisions. What would be next? If this is a big case, which these cases I'm here being super oversimplifying this, but there is a lot. I'm just giving you this so maybe you can expand your research on this. But there are very interesting cases. And the other case that I want to discuss is the case of Cambridge Analytica, which is a company from Europe that in the 2010s estimated 87 million of Facebook users' data was extracted for the purposes of creating specific psychological profiles to try to determine their behaviors and how they could convince them to act in certain ways in favor of the political campaigns that they were getting paid for in order to drive or to trigger the behavior in order to favor these politicians. So this is a very interesting case. The strategies used for this company in order to extract the data, in order to analyze the data, process it, the surveys that they issue to people in order to know what were their preferences, the assumptions that were made, all of this system, all of this machine behind this was very, very interesting in order to determine that these companies are really, really, really having the power to decide what to do with our own data. This created a whole situation with the Congress, of course. The CEO of Facebook, by the time called Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, had to go to Congress and expose the responsibility of the company, because this was all done through Facebook. So this is a specific case of data mining and privacy issues, direct stealing of data of millions of users, and the way that this worked also was that a lot of advertisement was sent and misleading information was sent to users that they knew were gonna respond in certain way under certain triggers in order to convince them of what candidate would be best for them, of course, to encourage voting for this person. This is absolutely, I don't even know the word, maybe scary, because if this is something that is real, that is happened, that is not an assumption, it's not a prediction, we can try to foresee what could happen with even more advanced technologies. So the question here is, who owns your data? Who owns our data? Are we owning actually our data? When we download an app, typically we see all the terms and conditions, and we got adjusted. I remember many years ago downloading, and we had this expression of why this company is asking me to agree to this. But because everybody else were having the app or the way to communicate, etc., we were obligated to say yes. We don't even read these agreements anymore. They are super long. The terminology is complicated to understand sometimes. And we are pretty much giving permission to access our data. This is what we're doing. We're pretty much being obligated in order to use the tool. So here what we're doing is that we're bringing this quick overall explanation of what could be the metaverse risks set directly by Dr. Louis Rosenberg, who is a person that has been studying the field, a person that is related with artificial intelligence, has a lot of experience, has been pretty much a whole life from when he was very young in this field. And we're very glad that we can bring forward this. I found this one, which is pretty good because he's very compiled and is directly to the point explaining what could be the potential risks. So let's see. I believe this begins in about let's see here, about the minute here. Let's hear.
What are the metaverse risks? It's not the technology that we should fear. It's the extreme power that metaverse platforms will have over consumers by virtue of controlling these platforms. In the metaverse, the platforms will be able to monitor and manipulate all aspects of our lives at a level that no other technology has so far yet enabled. And so let's just look at those in more detail. Monitoring users, we're all very aware that social media companies monitor and profile users, tracking where you click, what you buy, who your friends are. In the metaverse, this will go much, much further. Metaverse platforms will be able to track where you go in the metaverse, whether it's a fully virtual world or in the real world, continuously tracking you, what you do, track where you look, track how long your gaze lingers. You could be walking down the street in the real world with augmented reality headset or glasses, and you look in the store window, and The platform will know where you look, know where you don't look. They'll track your gait. They'll know when you slow down, know when you speed up. They'll even track your posture to infer your emotion and interest levels as you interact through your day. Metaverse platforms will also monitor your facial expressions, monitor your vocal inflections, and use those to infer your emotions throughout the day. They'll even monitor your vital signs. This is already widespread with the use of smartwatches, but companies are already building these into earbuds, and there's a lot of work to use this for tracking emotions, for things like advertising, tracking your heart rate, tracking your respiration rate, tracking your pupil dilation, tracking your galvanic skin response. So ultimately, in the metaverse, platforms will be able to track your whole life, what you do, say, experience, and feel. And there's a privacy concern, but it's actually much more than that when we then consider what you can do with all this information, which is to manipulate users. So again, in social media, all this tracking is done so that they can then use targeted advertising, targeted news feeds, targeted member invitations based on all the information they have about their user populations. And this has created problems. It's built echo chambers in social media that has polarized society, driving misinformation and disinformation, loss of trust in institutions, real problems. Well, in the metaverse, this is going to get worse. It's going to get worse because the whole point of VR and AR is to fool the senses. And so in the metaverse, targeting, in other words, advertising and propaganda, will not be pop-up ads and promo videos. They will be immersive experiences. And so manipulating users in the metaverse will mean things like virtual product placements and virtual people. Virtual product placements will be targeted experiences injected into your world by third parties for a fee. You can see products in your world, events in your world that you think are just natural parts of your experience, but they actually were put there specifically for you to experience, and that's dangerous because they could be indistinguishable from authentic serendipitous encounters. Same thing with virtual people. There will be AI-controlled avatars that are put into the world for promotional purposes and actually engage you in promotional conversation. They will become indistinguishable from authentic members of the world, and these promotional avatars will have access to all the history that was collected, your likes, your wants, your needs, your tendencies, your behaviors. They will also be tracking your emotions through your facial expressions, vocal inflections, vital signs. This means they will be able to pitch you and manipulate you and persuade you more skillfully than any human salesman. And that's dangerous. And so all that said, just to set this up, if we look forward over the next 10 years to the metaverse, I believe that the metaverse will happen in a big way. It will transform society from flat media to immersive media. It will affect everybody's life. I believe the risks will be similar, but much worse than today's social media, which means the time is now to think about metaverse regulation and other proactive things we can do to make sure that the metaverse is safe as we go through this transition from the flat media to immersive media of tomorrow. And with that, we can kick off the discussion. Thanks. Hi, I'm Lutz Rosenberg, CEO.
So, as we can see, we have here an interesting general overview of what could happen in the metaverse. And so what we're doing with this conversation is that, as you can see, we're coming from very general issues, now from a little bit of general in terms of technology, and now more specific about what is called the metaverse, or let's say immersive experiences, 3D experiences, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality experiences. And the most important aspect that I like to bring from where it was explained is the fact that in the immersive environments, we're not going to be able to determine what is advertisement and what is not. I find that pretty dangerous. If I am seeing across some people that is, I just see that they are interacting between each other and they are having a conversation, a topic, around something that it might resonate with me. For example, a conversation about an experience that they recently had, a mindful experiences, or the practice of yoga, or the practice of maybe meditation, etc. That might resonate a little bit with me, and I might find myself interested in that. How do I know? How do we know that this conversation, these people are real humans, and that this is not another very well crafted experience for me, knowing what are my triggers, what are my desires, what are my interests, what I could be able to be more open up to for discussion in order to agree to something or to buy something. This is very interesting. I feel that we need to be aware of all of this. We are not saying that the technology is per se a danger, but it's how we're going to use it. And we definitely can have access to the technology in order to improve some of our skills, or to learn languages in a safe way, or to practice maybe some sort of activity that we for some reason is not in the real world, is not better. Those type of experiences that are better in the virtual world are the ones that I believe have a safe place there. But if there is something that is definitely better in this real world, we don't necessarily have to give in and being sold by the fact that here what we have is not better. So then there is a place for functionality, practical applications where can make our work maybe easier or faster. I think that those are very good cases that not necessarily might be dangerous. So there are potential new risks that, as we can see, artificial intelligence driven avatars. We won't be able to distinguish potentially who is human and who is not, and what type of influence I am receiving to convince me about something. Devices, sensors, Internet of Things, like installed in our homes, that know absolutely every single detail about us, and psychological triggers that can be used, data used for advertisement, addiction and mental health, by embedding in the design triggers that are known about our weaknesses or traits, personal traits. Safety and ergonomics, children protection. There are many situations that might arise out of this that we are seeing right now with gaming addiction. Speaking about gaming addiction, one point that I wanted to mention here is that the World Health Organization declared gaming addiction as a mental disorder, as a disorder. So this is an interesting aspect. An organization of this size or impact in the world, if they have done this, it means it is a topic that we need to bring into the discussion also on what type of games are we creating, what type of experiences for children, and how we are protecting them. And the question reflection here is immersive media an escapist medium? And I leave that question to you for your own reflections. Other risks, digital commodities. We are the product. We're gonna continue to be the product in the metaverse or in 3D experiences. What are we gonna do about it? Ownership and use of personal identity. We give in sometimes when we say, yes, I agree to access the data. But how about other companies also using the data, not only the platform that we're accessing, just as it happened with Cambridge Analytica, for example? How we're going to be protected? How we're going to say some sort of copyright model where we can claim this is mine and you're breaching the law? We don't have that yet, but we need it. Attention overload, mental health impact, and this is one that is absolutely huge. If this becomes more and more addictive, how it's gonna be our expression and our interaction with the real world and our families and our humanity. And this is just the surface. So here we bring into the conversation one of the most important parts, which is, okay, what are we going to do about it? Because there might be the thoughts of, yeah, we cannot do anything about it. Let's see. We can begin, if we are speaking about XR design, the application of mindful design practices. And this is something that I've been studying for years. I like to incorporate mindful design strategies. And these are all about minimalist, simplicity, philosophies, etc. There is a whole work around mindful design practices. If you want to obtain more information about that, you can reach out to me. I'm in social media as Diana Olenik. But this one is an important aspect to include in all type of design. This is what I believe, in order to make sure that people is protected and that the minimum triggers that we use in order to create an addictive platform or experience is going to be better for in the long term, not only for us, for humanity, for children, for the actual even experience. We believe that sometimes it's going to be even better that the person always has slaves all the attention in the platform that we're creating, but it's actually in the long term better when we can really change the life of someone or inspire for better or give the proper tools to someone to grow in their career or in their aspirations. And this even has a bigger impact. Supporting the inclusion of data ownership in the human rights legislation. How? It begins with us. It begins with having these conversations, with getting more interested in what is going on, and in all networks that are related with work, the work that we do, discussing about these issues, because it becomes like a snowball. At some point, more and more and more and more people begin to have the more conscious awareness that this is needed, and governments need to bring this forward and include it in legislation, how all rights are going to be protected in terms of owning our data, and what would be the consequences if somebody breaches the law. Design with data protection rights in mind, even if it is not regulated yet, this is something that we can do. Even though there is no law totally applied in all the world as a standard, as a human rights standard, even though that doesn't exist, what is our place? We can integrate it as designers. We can refuse work that is not aligned with our humanity, with our standards, with our virtue, as I explained from the beginning, from the Aristotle's ethical theory, where our own principles should guide the work that we do, which are not necessarily based on the externals, but on our own humanity. The design with minimum screen use and psychological triggers. And this one, typically for designers, it's a little bit difficult to undertake, because how can we imagine interactions don't require screens? But the technology has advanced so much, actually, that we can use sound as prompts. We can use other type of visual storytelling and narrative elements. We can study so much the problem that we are actually trying to solve, for the experience that we're trying to offer for comfort, that we might be able to discover how those screens were not even needed. There are many examples that I like to share with you. The time is limited here, but how it has been achieved, at least into the experiences, and how we can translate it in 3D also, especially in this one, how the UIs are getting obsolete, and how the new design can be for more real interactions that not necessarily are related with the screens, which is pretty interesting. And of course, protecting these psychological elements that we might have that maybe with sensitive individuals can trigger certain behaviors. We have to avoid that. Other practices is design for less dependency and more practical use. So creating products and digital experiences that are really for functionality and practical use, so that the person doesn't necessarily have to feel that in order to improve their life or further or have a better experience, they need to depend on a device or an app. The idea is that good technology is designed around the principle that can give the minimum tools needed to interact with the world, not necessarily depending on the device. Design with agency for the user, so giving them the choice for them to determine how they want to move, how they want to explore, and how they want their connections to be done with other people, or how much of their profiles or data are shared with other individuals, and all of these type of considerations. Design with social responsibility in mind. How about social and environmental impact? So in design, we typically face these situations where we believe that in certain, just thinking on product base, just with that constraint of just the product and product market fit, etc. But there is something more. The good design of a product is not just about one way of seeing it in terms of the financial, the economics, the marketing. It's also about the impact that this product or experience can have around the world. And believe it or not, even, for example, these platforms related with blockchain, NFTs, and all of these have an impact in the world, even though they are digital. So these are the type of platforms that we're creating, the type of impact that we're creating. Everything that is around us is using electricity, energy. So what are the type of platforms that we are creating or experiences, and how are we contributing to mitigating environmental or social impact? Apply awareness and mindfulness principles, especially with vulnerable demographics, for example, kids, and not only kids, but populations that have certain precedents with depression or certain vulnerabilities in terms of mental health, etc. Support digital well-being campaigns and learn from these principles for effective implementation. So this is related with contributing to more awareness, contributing to bring the conversations, and contributing to spread this awareness with any other professional, friends, etc. So we can not necessarily from the designer point of view, but also from the user point of view. How are we interacting with technologies? Are we being conscious enough? Are we giving up, all of us, to just a restricted way of living? And how are we projecting this to others or families or kids? Because we have a very important place in the world for what we are doing right now. So this is the end. I feel very grateful for having this conversation. It was a very short conversation, but actually I enjoyed it so much. This is a topic that is a passion for me, that I like to dive in, research, study. And I believe that this is very important for us as professionals to have it as another tool in our toolbox, in order to create experiences that are more meaningful and that contribute for the good of the society and the people around us. Thank you so much. You can find me in all social media as Diana Olenik. And if you have any questions or any concerns or any suggestions, I am all ears, and definitely I'd like to continue the conversation. There is much more from this presentation, but we can keep the conversation going for sure. Thank you so much. I wish that you have an amazing day, and bye for now.